3 full years about with SGA. I had kind of minor breaks my freshman, sophomore year for other class conflicts, but solid at least a couple of years here. I started out as a senator for College of Science and Engineering, and when I was then in SGA, I worked to do more advocacy for STEM education within different schools, but mostly I wanted to bring the first robotics competition to CMU. Obviously, it did not happen yet that year. Put a lot of work into that. Still hoping for it to happen in the future. And then shifted over to academic affairs as my main role, being the chair for that. That one we did a lot of stuff for. The waitlist legislation, that was a big one. I was super proud of getting you to know like what place you are on the wait list, how many people are ahead of you that wasn't previously known on our registration system. Um, we hosted 2 events that were moderately successful, I would say, that were all about changes and things happening on campus. Being part of academic affairs, I was able to do academic senate and I was able to do more of the committees, I guess, university committees that I've been able to chair on. One of them being that I'm still on right now is the SET or Student Evaluation and Teaching Committee. So we're working on developing new SOS questions for those end of course surveys. We're doing focus groups right now, so that one's a big one I'm excited for. Hopefully that'll launch at the end of this semester. Um, the exam kits were a huge one we did throughout academic affairs through my entire time. We started with 300 my first semester. We've increased every semester I've been doing it. This past semester we did 5,000 kits, which was really amazing. We got them to all the residence halls and did it during COVID as well. So students were able to take those exam kits as they pleased. We still have a ton left over too that we were just giving out at random things. So to make sure students are getting those. So that was a big successful one. Tons of legislation we've worked on, passed through. Barnes Green Space was another big one. Put a lot of work into that one. You probably remember that from last year, I think was when that was mostly happening and then kind of got paused from COVID, but that's back on again. I have a couple meetings coming up about funding and things like that. So the Barnes Green Space is for sure a big one. Excited to tackle and work with that again to get that transformed to a space for students. Yeah, so I was running for the presidency with Josh as my VP, running for that, and I knew between who was running last year, it was going to be a closer race, so it was very competitive. I much respected Brett and Katie as opponents, so it was definitely interesting coming into SGA. I knew that just because I lost, I did not want to give up my involvement. I cared too much about the university to let losing the election hinder what I was going to do. So I still want to stay involved, still stayed a part of it. I was academic affairs chair again. That's what I love doing. I love being around the academics. And then was able to elevate my position to chief of staff. And then I was helping oversee all of the cabinet members with my experience with SGA, and then kind of elevated again now to vice president. And I think it's very cool. I think that Katie and I were kind of opponents at one point, and now we're ironically paired together and we're working together to do it. Nothing has really, I would say, be weird from it. Like we just kind of stepped right into it and it felt like it clicked. So it's working pretty well between us. We were friends before, still friends during, friends while we're doing this now. So it's been a cool adjustment, I think, too, because now we're blending the ideas that Josh and I had and Katie and Brett had, and now each of us is kind of in a role where we can blend those and kind of make what I think was best from our 2 platforms when we were campaigning kind of come to life now with this last semester. So we've started doing a lot of talks with some meetings and stuff. Those exam kits have been a big one that we've been working on. We're looking at doing a lot more engagement projects this semester. So now that we have gotten a semester under our belt of how the university can operate in this COVID type world, we're looking at what more engagement things can we do with students, bringing more types of events that we're able to do. We've looked at new virtual platforms we can host things on, but I do think that students are starting to get tired of all of this virtual stuff happening. So looking at some more safely in-person type events that we could start doing that happen outside with engagement. A lot of what we worked on in last semester was very focused around voting and the voter engagement. Still continuing some of that out through and then legislation is now becoming big for this next semester here specifically is we're making some changes. We have a lot of people that are bringing up legislation to us. And then a huge portion of this semester will be going to that election as well. So the next election for who's taking over next year, we have talked, we are going to do a much more of a transition piece this year. A lot of our cabinet that we currently have is older students, I would say, mostly juniors and seniors, some of them who are graduating as well and not really looking towards running. And we have a few young members and young members of SGA that we're hoping are going to run. And we think that that transition piece is going to be very important in there to kind of show the ropes, what's going on with it, how those positions are handled. That's going to be a big focus for a little bit there as well. One of the big purposes a lot of people come to SGA is because they want their org to be eligible for that SBAC funding. It's funding that all of the orgs can apply for to do different events, maybe go to conferences, things they want to put on for their org, stuff like that, which is very difficult to do in this time with COVID because we can't have those in-person events, whereas some orgs may have applied for it to do different things. And that is a large portion of the reason why a lot of students come to SGA is because they want to have that money and funding. I want SGA to be more than that for the students. I don't want you just to come to be eligible for the money. I want you to come because you believe you can make a difference at your university. So that's going to be a focus of mine as well, is showing through legislation, through different things that we're passing, through bringing in these guest speakers. You're making a difference and a change by being a part of SGA, and I want you to come to SGA for that reason. Additionally, within SGA engagement, we do want to pick that up as well. So we figured out how these meetings are going to work now. It was definitely an adjustment throughout that semester. How do we vote? How do we present things? How do we have guest speakers talk and all of that? We got that under our belt. We know what we're doing now, and it should be much more engaged and efficient as we go through the semester.